Hello, welcome to Inspirational Enthusiasm. I'm Lori, and we are in April now, and we're going to do a little general reading to see what's going on with the energy. And just a little precursor before we get started with the reading. There's a lot of heavy energy right now, and for those of you watching, you're probably feeling it. There's some astrological energy at play that is really making things. I hate to use the word challenging, but I'm going to use the word challenging because I've been dealing with it. I'm very sensitive to energies, and I believe most of the people that are watching the channel at this point are very sensitive as well. So last week, astrologically, we had something started that is, excuse me for being all, I'm trying to think while I'm talking to you. But so in Aries right now, so we're in Aries, the sun is in Aries, and Chiron is a little asteroid that has a big punch, and it is in Aries right now. And Chiron is called the wounded healer. And what happens with Chiron, whenever it is, wherever it is in the whatever planet it's in, wherever it is astrologically, that's how it's impacting us. And Aries is all about me and I am. So Chiron being in Aries is triggering wounds that are about us. And since the sun is in Aries as well, the sun is actually, hitting that Chiron placement, and it is really striking a point where it is opening the wounds, or let's see, what's the best way to describe it? So it's just penetrating Chiron that is exposing our wounds. There we go. So it's exposing the wounds, and it's forcing us to work on those things. So the things that, whether we might have worked on them a little bit in the past, or we may have been blind to them, regardless of which one is the case, we are being forced to work on our wounds. It could be childhood wounds, it could be adolescent wounds, adult wounds, but it's being triggered. And it's been really strong for me personally in the last couple weeks. And I couldn't understand at first why I was feeling so down and depressed and anxiety and all these different things that were coming up in me. And then when I am studying astrology, I'm self-taught, but I'm actually taking a pretty big course right now. And as I looked at it, I was like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense, because here are the things that are going on astrologically, and here's what I'm feeling internally. So as I looked at that, I saw not only was the sun making an aspect to Chiron, but it's also making an aspect to Mercury, which is all about our communication and learning. So I've been intensely learning astrology, and I've been doing these videos, which is all about communication. And I actually last week didn't do a video because I was having an issue with my communication, not feeling comfortable. So we've got that energy going on. We also have some more energy coming up next week that is a conjunction with Jupiter and Neptune, which is going to really shine a light on our shadows. So we already have this Chiron energy that is spotlighting our wounds, things that we need to work on and heal through, and notice patterns that we have, issues that we have. And then as we roll into next week, we have Jupiter, the planet of expansion, hitting Neptune, which is all about, well, not all about, but a big part of it is about our shadow side. So I really feel like personally what I've been seeing is the necessity to work on some unhealed wounds that I didn't realize were still active. And then as we move into next week, then we'll be then there could be some things that come up that I wasn't expecting. But because I am tapped into the energy and into the knowledge of astrology, I have a bit of a heads up. And so giving you a bit of a heads up too. And then after that, as we roll through the month of April, towards the end of the month, we have our first eclipse, and it's in Taurus. So eclipse season, that amplifies everything that's going on. So I feel like intuitively, I feel like it is amplifying the healing energy of anything that we are working on personally. It's being in Taurus is all about our values, and it's going to really ping you on what do you value. Do you really value the things that you did in the past, or is it time for a shift? So with that energy, or with that information, let's see what the cards entail. And I'm looking forward to this because, again, I have been struggling the last couple weeks with my energy. And in my own readings, I've been finding some good information. So we'll see what pops out today. I want to pull that because it was... So sacred breath and sound, life force communication. That's interesting. There's a dolphin in that. Earth magic. And let's pull the bottom card. Sensuality. So sacred breath and sound is all about it's life force I can't talk. Life force and communication. So that's what I was talking about with the whole Mercury thing I said a minute ago. This is about our communication. This is about how you are communicating, how you feel right now about everything that's going on in your life and around you. This is a beautiful card. It has a dolphin and a priestess in it, and it's a 10. So 10 represents, in numerology, break it down. 1 is about new beginnings, and 0 is God consciousness. So I feel like this is about a new way to communicate how you're feeling. Maybe you haven't been good at communicating your feelings in the past, and it's time to reevaluate that. And I know that is something that I'm working through. This is about what is the best way to communicate for you, for people to understand you without you coming across in a prickly way, in a fussy way. So then we move on to earth magic. This is fearlessness, removing obstacles. And that is what healing work is all about, is as we're moving through, identifying these things that are triggering us, it's time to look at those and then work through them, and then in effect remove those as obstacles in our life, move through them fearlessly. This is actually a 26 card, which reduces to an 8, which is doing the work. This is all about doing the work on ourselves. And then sensuality is the next card. This is the feminine wisdom and passion. And this is really digging into your feminine side. And all of us, whether you're a male or a female, we have feminine and masculine energy. And feminine energy is very receptive, very allowing, very, like I said, very receptive. It's not trying to make things, it's not trying to make things fit into a box. It's allowing them and allowing that energy to flow through us. Masculine energy is more action oriented. Feminine energy is more receptive. So this card is telling us it's time to allow. It's time to not resist all of the inner work that we're supposed to be doing. And this is a 38. So this is an 11 card, and 11s are very spiritual. 11s to me are about my spiritual journey. That's how they've always showed up to me. So very interesting message there about listening to yourself, communicating, pushing through obstacles, really allowing yourself to work on your healing and move forward. So you can move forward and not be so in that energy. So let's see what the tarot says. Again, I'm very interested today because the energy has been thick. All right, do a little cut in here. All right, we've got the 8 of Wands, the Knight of Wands. Of course, we've got the Star about healing. The Nine of Swords, the Wheel of Fortune, which is a 10, Seven of Cups, Page of Wands, Nine of Pentacles, Knight of Swords, and underneath we've got the Two of Wands. So interesting. First thing that's getting my attention is we have a couple nines, nines are about completion, and so as we start at the top, the Nine of Wands, this is very fast. The energy is very fast, and I don't know if you all are feeling this, but I can feel like this does feel fast. This feels like things that I have to work on that I cannot hide from anymore. So this is that fast, fiery energy coming in, and it's an 8. So again, it's about working through this, working on our issues. The Knight of Wands is usually a very playful energy. And it can be a playful energy. It can be moving forward passionately. And that's what I'm picking up here is this fast energy is moving us passionately towards our healing. So this is really beautiful. It's like, okay, now it's, if you had been kind of tinkering with your healing and you're not, and you weren't really taking it as seriously as you should have, then the energy that we're going through now is all about, all right, get off the pot and let's go. So moving as fast, and really getting down to the healing, to the healing work within yourself. Now, as we move through the second part of the reading, the Nine of Swords, this is, although we're being told and forced might not be a good word, but pushed into more of the healing journey, it's not always easy, right? And I don't know that it's ever easy when we're coming face to face with our shadows and with the things in our lives that have caused us pain. So the Nine of Swords here is about that, just those images and that pain and the things that kind of keep us up at night that we can't let go of. This is being right next to the Wheel of Fortune is like, it's time to let it go. It's time to wake up. It's time to leave what's past in the past and move forward. And any of these trigger moments, these things that you're healing from, identify them, but don't let them linger. Don't let them eat at you and again keep you up at night, or wake you up and not let you go back to sleep. Identify them. And what I like to do, and I'm going to do this later because I haven't done this yet, but anything that is bothering me, especially things with along my healing journey, and I guess they all are, is write them down. Just start writing them down. Keep a little bit of a list, almost like a checklist. And that way, what's coming to your mind when you're having those sleepless nights, or you're having those anxious moments, those anxiety times filled with anxiety, is to write down what is in your head. That'll do a couple things. First of all, it'll get it out of your head and onto a piece of paper. It'll also give you something to look at and say, okay, this is something that I need to heal. And it makes it, to me, anytime I can pull something out of my head and put it on paper, it gives me a way to just get it out of here so I can work through it. So this Nine of Swords is, this is about that anxiety, and it's about moving through it. It's funny because you've got anxiety on one side and confusion on the other with the Seven of Cups. So in the middle is the Wheel of Fortune telling us, okay, it's time to move through this. It's time to get a handle on what is causing the confusion, what is causing the anxiety, and start working on it. And there's lots of different ways you can work on your healing journey. But I would say that the most important part is the first part, and it's awareness. What is it that you need to heal? What is it that needs to be worked on to move forward? And although we don't necessarily like triggers, so for example, when someone does something to us that wouldn't typically upset us, when all of a sudden it does, that is a trigger, and that is telling us that whatever's going on needs to be worked on, because it's an irrational response to something that we typically wouldn't respond to. And I'm sure most of us have that, especially adolescents and above. Children not so much, just because they haven't been through as much programming and through as many issues. So it's really important to pay attention to the things that are bothering you. And if it's something that typically doesn't, and it is, another way to work through that is write that down, and really do your best not to react in the moment. That's a lot of times easier said than done. I'll give an example. So I don't usually have road rage. I used to really badly. And it used to be so bad. I mean, everybody was in my way and blah, blah, blah. And now I look back and I can see where that was coming from. Haven't had it in a long time. And in the last, I'd say, a week and a half, all of a sudden, it's bothering me. I'm like, okay, so why all of a sudden is traffic bothering me when it didn't? So I'm driving last night and there's somebody that's really close to my bumper behind me, and instinctively I wanted to brake check them. I wanted to put my brakes on, and that's not something that I would ever do, especially after all the work I've done on myself. So I looked at that and I was like, okay, so what is going on? And it's just a big part of all the stuff that I'm working through right now. So again, pay attention to your triggers. They are there for a reason. They are there to get your attention. And what I didn't do is I didn't react when I was driving. So I was able to control that trigger and just look at that and say, okay, people in my space, that's bothering me. And, I when I went home, I kind of thought through it, like, okay, what is going on here? And instead of reacting, I processed. So take those triggers and do your best to process through them. And as you do that, like I said, one of the techniques you can use is writing it down or just thinking through it. What is coming to mind? What are the things that are coming to your mind when you're thinking about that situation? And then that's a good way to work through it. So next, we have the Page of Wands. And so this is something about, what am I getting here? So messages. So there's messages. This is listening to your higher self is what's coming through here. Listening inside, listening to your higher self, because between the Page of Wands and the Nine of Pentacles, I'm feeling that this is about listening to your higher self in order to work through whatever these issues are that you're dealing with. And this is coming in fast. Again, there's a lot of fast energy in this reading. Having the two Knights, having the Eight of Wands. This is about, being aware that this information is coming through fast. And when we know in advance that something can be coming towards us, it gives us time to prepare. So I feel like that's what this reading is about, is if you're not already in the midst of it, then know that it's coming and be prepared, be ready for it. Because it's almost like you can't escape it right now. The energy of healing, moving forward, we're being forced to move forward and to heal, but also very very methodically. That's funny that I'm picking that up. So it's yes, you're going to move. It's coming at you fast, but you need to work through it methodically, if that makes sense. So don't allow it to push you too fast. Identify the trigger, the healing, whatever that you need to work on, and then start to work on it and allow it to flow. And don't rush it. Maybe that's it. Don't rush it. It's funny. There's a lot of mixed messages in this today. And I do think it's because of all the heavy energy that I talked about early on. Underneath, there's the two wands, which is really about, and this is really about seeing the bigger picture. So as we're talking about healing journeys, This is, okay, looking at the other side. So if you're in the midst of something that's challenging at the moment, and especially if it's coming in pretty forceful and fast, a really good way to work through it, and something that my mother told me the other day, was the way that she handles things is to envision being on the other side of it. So envision, say, in the example that she gave me when we talked about it, is she had cut her finger a while back, and it was a bad cut, required stitches, and it was painful. And as she was healing through the pain, she kept looking at the other side. Okay, when I get on the other side of this, it's going to be okay. And in order to move through it, she was envisioning the other side. So that is what I'm seeing here, is really looking at the bigger picture, looking at you coming out on the other side of it. All right, so, ooh, that wants to come out. That was loud. Okay, 5 of Swords. Let's see. All right, now they're popping, so there's obviously message in here. I was asking for messages from our higher self, so our higher self obviously has something to say. All right, I'm going to do this, and I want to see this. All right, so the 5 of Swords, the Page of Cups, the King of Swords, and the 9 of Wands. So what I'm pulling out of this is really, for whatever reason, I'm feeling fighting against change. There's things coming to our consciousness that are gifts, that are gifts of, what is it? It's gifts to help us move forward, but we're fighting it. So I feel like it's gifts of change. It's things that are coming into our consciousness to make us aware, but we're fighting it. We're not wanting to address it. We're like, okay, no, I don't want to do this, but we're being forced to King of Swords and to be firm with ourselves, so we can address it, and we can hit it head on. The nine of Wands. That's all of that time of. This is all the time of just being beat up in the past. So it's really not wanting to revisit the wounds from the past. So again, it's fighting. Our higher self is trying to tell us not to fight the past. The sooner that we can hit it head on, be firm with ourselves, work through it, then we can move past it, and we can heal, and we can feel better. A lot of times we want to distract, or we want to turn away, or we don't want to face things, and that's what's going on here. We're trying to distract ourselves and look away, but the sooner we face it head on, the sooner we'll work through it. All right, what is the block? What is blocking us? And it's funny, as I'm doing this reading, I can feel it's very vibratory, this reading. There's a lot of energy. I can feel it like in my heart chakra, in my throat. It's very, very heavy. And I know I'm talking to myself in this reading too. All right, what's blocking? So the Hierophant, the six of Wands, and the 5 of Cups is staying in the past. Is staying. The Hierophant, that could be just not wanting to leave the past, not wanting to change, not wanting to come out of our comfort zone. So we have a tendency to, get comfortable in the way things are, even though they're not feeling good, they're not healthy. But this is This is really screaming at me in my head right now about, this is like, get out of your comfort zone. So the Hierophant and then the Six of Wands, this is like, get out of your comfort zone. Move away from your traditional belief systems. Move away from old antiquated belief systems. Let go of the loss. Stop looking at the spilt cups and move towards the cups that are still full, the cups that are still standing. Embrace change. So the blocks are that we want to stay stuck in the old belief systems, and we're pushing against change. So what is the action and advice? All right, jumpers. We got the King and Queen of Swords now. So what's the action? What action do we need to take? All right, so the Queen of Swords is, in this, I'm feeling this is all about being, in this card, she's holding her hand out and she has a sword in the other hand. So it's being firm, but being open. This is really, again, back to facing your issues. This is really telling us to be kind to ourselves. Be kind to yourself, but do the work. Move forward. You have the tools. And the Magician, you have the tools to do the work. You're to the point where it's time to move forward. But it's interesting here because the advice is to move forward, telling you do have the tools, to stop blocking yourself. The only person in your way right now is yourself. And, take the blindfold off, take a look at things that are going on, stop resisting the change, and be ready to move forward. So you're going to feel much better once you stop the resistance. And this is some heavy resistance here. Interestingly, that I'm asking what the action is, and it is do this and really get out of your own way. Really stop blocking your own healing. Okay, let's see what else is going on here. What else is a good question to ask? Well, I'm just going to pull some cards and see what comes out. And the question is how to move on, how to move forward. Okay, so Judgment, the Two of Pentacles, Queen of Cups, and the King of Cups. So how do you move forward? This is really interesting because this is saying that stop. So we're at a crossroads here, and there's a lot of this back and forth. So it's stop second guessing what you need to do to move forward. The King and Queen of Cups here is blending of the masculine and feminine energy, and really cool that this is coming up the way it is, because I talked about that in the beginning of the reading, where this is where we're integrating our feminine and our masculine energy. So even though I'm a female, I actually have a lot of masculine energy, and I'm an Aries, so I tend to be very action oriented, want to get things done, haven't had a lot of patience in my past. And embracing the feminine energy has always been difficult for me, because that is being more receptive and flowing and allowing and not having to have control over every single thing in my life. And that is what's coming up here is, how do we move forward? It's about blending the feminine and masculine energy within us, and realize that we're at a crossroads. We're at a place in our lives where it's time to stop. It's time to stop with this, indecision, and really fully integrate into integrate into that energy. So this is really this is a very overwhelming energy about, working on your healing. Again, starting off from the beginning, talked about how we are in this astrological energy that is forcing us to look at our wounds, address them, and work through them. And there's lots of different ways. So for those of you that maybe at the beginning of your healing journey, just to kind of recap some of the things I said and give a few more, writing things down is a great way to figure out what you need to heal, what you need to work on for yourself, making sure that not making sure, but journaling is a great way. And maybe let's not call it journaling, because a lot of people, when they hear journaling, they're like, oh, I can't journal. Well, just write things down. When things come to your mind, they don't have to be complete sentences. It can be words. Just write some things down that are at the top of your mind, and then come back to it, and then see if there's anything that's resonating with you. As you read those words that you wrote, then try to add on to that and try to expand. And the more we write, the more that we can pull the things out that we're having a hard time facing on a more conscious level. Also, just being still with your thoughts. I know I've talked about this before, but meditating, being very mindful, being very present. I know that this is something that I have been working on very diligently over the last few years, and I've gotten very good at meditating and very good at being in the moment. But in the last couple weeks, as I mentioned earlier, I've had a hard time with not letting my mind get in front of me. So when you're worried about things in the future, that is anxiety. When you're dwelling on things in the past, that's typically depression. I've been working on both of those in the last couple of weeks. And when I catch myself doing that, then I become present. So that's another tool, is awareness. Mindfulness is all about being aware in the moment. So just another tool that you can use. And some other things that I have been doing personally in the last couple of weeks is reaching out to people. That is something that I never was good at in my past, is asking for help, because I always felt like I would be burdensome or bothering people. And I have gotten to the point recently where I am forcing myself, and it can be mentally painful for me to ask for help, but I'm doing it anyway. And after I reach out and I talk to the people that I've reached out to, I'm feeling better. And it's also letting other people know that I'm in a space where I am having, some challenges. So that also helps you when I was talking about triggers before. Like, if you're talking to somebody and they don't know that you're having a challenging time, and they say something and you have a weird reaction, they're not going to have any idea why. But if you're telling people, especially those closest to you, what's going on around you, then it's not going to come as such a surprise. And you're also going to have people checking in on you, which is going to make you feel better and will help you move forward on your healing as well. So hopefully those tips will help. Those are, again, things that I have been having to force myself to do lately. But we are in a very strong healing energy, and it's important. You will feel better on the other side. It does not feel good necessarily when you're in the middle of it, but you push through it. And as you push through it, like my mom says, envision yourself on the other side. And the more you do that, the more you visualize what you want and visualize how good it's going to feel once you work through that pain, that energy, that negative energy. Envision the positive. Try to really pull into the positive. And the more you do that, the faster that you will heal. You will heal. I hope this has been helpful for you. It actually has been very enlightening for me. All the readings tend to be interesting to me, but this has been pretty personal. Again, hope that you've gotten something out of it. And if you have, or if you have or haven't, please drop a comment. Please let me know how you feel. If there's anything that you'd like any questions you'd like to ask in any of my readings going forward, I'd love to hear from you. If you like the content that I'm creating, please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the little notification bell. And I hope you have a great week, and we will see you again next week. Bye-bye.